Aloha and good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, April 28, 2026, and the time is 9:04 a.m. Will the Committee on Budget please come to order? I'd like to welcome to the committee. We'd like to welcome to the committee members who are present in the chamber today. Committee Vice Chair Nishimoto, Council members Cordero, Kia Aina, Talba, and Chair Waters. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways: in person in the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Remote and in-person oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-3 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time as may be necessary will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to the testifier podium. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony via video conference or phone. When I call your name, please monitor your screen and follow the prompt to unmute. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 if you wish to testify, and I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are also watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Moving on to agenda item number 1, resolution 26-87. This resolution authorizes a transfer of funds not to exceed $222,000 in general fund monies from the provision for energy costs activity current expenses character of expenditure to the Department of Enterprise Services, auditoriums and golf courses, activities current expenses character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 required to cover the department's fuel and electricity shortages. Members, we have distributed a hand-carried proposed CD1 OCS 2026-0237/4/24/2026 at 3:02 p.m. submitted by myself. The CD1 makes the following amendments. A, amends the third whereas clause to specify the receiving activities and characters of expenditure. B, in the Be It Resolved clause, amends the table to correct the name of the originating activity, provision for energy costs. C, in the Be It Finally Resolved clause, adds the Director of Enterprise Services as a recipient of a copy of the resolution. And D, makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments. Before we bring up the administration, we'll proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'd like to now welcome from the Department of Enterprise Services, Director Dita Hollyfield. Aloha, good morning, Director.
Aloha and good morning. Dita Hollyfield, Director of Enterprise Services, and I just appreciate the opportunity to be considered to access the $220,000 from the provisional account for the energy costs to support our energy needs at the Blaisdell and our golf courses. With regards to the Blaisdell, we have a current electricity budget of 1.2 million, in which this year, I believe we're going to actually reach 1.5 million. And so I just want to talk about the baseline so everyone is clear why I think we are here. First of all, since 2019 and COVID, there were most of the facilities have been not fully operational. So some of the Blaisdell's been closed, the concert hall was closed, the X hall was closed. So it's been difficult over those years to really see how much every single year that we're really going to need in terms of electricity. And also, we also know that there has been large increases in electricity costs since 2019. So the concert hall was shut for 20 months, and the Blaisdell Arena was 7 months. So in FY 24 and 25, when I started, I was able to actually start to open some of those venues. So this year will actually be the very first year that we've been able to have full openings on all of our venues. And I do think at this point, we can get a better handle on what the baseline is going to look like. Now, the exciting news for everybody in this is that we did pull together a full marketing team, and we have been very successful, especially in the X Hall, by taking some of the business from the closures of the convention, and now, of course, we know about the stadium. So the X Hall is a very expensive venue to run. It's a large open space, and sometimes we're open nearly 7 days a week. So those are many of the reasons that we have had some overages. In addition to that, one of the things that we did last year, thanks to DDC and their project, we're adding solar panels to the roof so that we can create some energy savings with that. And we're still learning about the electricity credits, but I know that this next year we're going to be able to really get a handle on all of that. So in summary, we are requesting of the $220,000, $160,000 will be from the energy provision account, and then we're going to use savings on our side for the $167,000 remaining. So we're asking for support on that side. Now, in regards to the golf, we are seeking $62,000 to assist the golf division. We had an interesting issue this last year, and that was regarding to the drought that we were all experiencing. And it wasn't just about the forward-facing grounds and how it looked, but it really was really impeding play. And so we first and second quarters, we looked at the watering the greens, then we would try to water the tees, and then we would spot water some of the large acreage areas on the golf course to really stay within the budget that we had put together. Here we arrived, and we kept some savings aside. I felt like we really had a handle on this. I really do also appreciate Deputy Doan and what she did to really kind of look through all the different scenarios that we might be able to bring forth. But prior to the Kona Low, that's where we were. I felt we were in a good place. Now comes the Kona Lows. Four of our 6 municipal golf courses completely underwater. And from Ted Macalena's trees being down to the streams that we had overflowing, there were damage, there was mudslides, there was debris everywhere. And so all that cost savings that we had kind of saved up and ready to go for the end of the year, now we're deployed as emergency funding to try to get our golf courses up and running as fast and efficiently as we could. Westlock was under for, pretty much the whole entire, the Kona Lows, all the different seasons that we had. So that is some of the reasons why I believe that we are here. Our budget for golf is $665,528, and I look forward to this year creating our baseline and looking forward to really being able to make some tweaks and understand how we can walk through this process. Lastly, for the auditoriums and for golf, it's very seasonal. So it's a moving target. We're not always going to have a Filipino K-pop group perform on the islands, or we're not going to have Earth, Wind, and Fire, or we're going to have 3 Broadway seasons instead of 2 like we have this next year. So that is why I'm asking for your consideration today, and I look forward to your assistance.
Thank you, Director Hollyfield. Members, if we have any questions for the Director, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Really quickly, I just want to know, how are you able to determine how much funding you would need from the provision for energy costs for the Blaisdell? You said you're still learning about how much electrical credits you would get from HECO with the solar panels on the roof there, but I was wondering, how were you able to determine the amount of $160,000?
Thank you for the question. I think that one of the things is just creating, like we said, the baseline. We're also looking at comps from the different years on, how some years we've been really, really busy, some years that we haven't. Now that we have everything open this last year, despite the disaster of the Kona lows, I believe that we can really get a handle on those questions, and then we're working with DDC and with our solar company to really understand how that can assist us as well.
Thank you, and thank you for you and your team's efforts to really keep the Blaisdell booked and busy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions for the Director? Seeing none, thank you so much, Director Hollyfield.
Mahalo.
Thank you. Members, we are now in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the Chair recommends that Resolution 26-87 be amended to a hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2026-0537/4. OCS 2026-0237/4/24/2026 at 3:02 p.m. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Seeing none, the resolution is amended to a CD1. The Chair then recommends that Resolution 26-87 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Director Hollyfield. Moving on to agenda item number 2, Resolution 26-84. This resolution authorizes a transfer not to exceed $35,000 in highway fund monies within the Department of Design and Construction, project and construction management activity from the salaries character of expenditure to the equipment character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 to meet the budget shortfall for 2 vehicle acquisitions in the civil division. Before we bring up the administration, we'll proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Would I like to now welcome to the podium, joining us from the Department of Design and Construction, Director Haku Millis. Thank you for being here with us, Director.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity. Haku Millis, Director for the Department of Design and Construction. I'll keep it short. Very simply put, the money that we had budgeted to purchase these vehicles wasn't enough when the bids came in, and so we would like to be able to transfer the $35,000 so that we could get both the vehicles. These 2 vehicles would be replacing, I think, 2 that are over 20 years. One is 20 years old and one is, I think, 13 years old. These vehicles serve our inspectors to be able to go to sites and all of our civil projects, as well as going out to inspect bridges during disasters such as the Kona lows. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Millis. Members, do we have any questions for the Director? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Seeing no questions, members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the Chair recommends that Resolution 26-84 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 3, Bill 8, 2026. This bill relates to funds. Members, we have a proposed CD1 OCS 2026-0215/4/15/2026 at 1:40 p.m. submitted by myself. For your information, the amendments are listed on the agenda. Before we bring up the administration, we will proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. And I'd like to welcome with us, joining us from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, Director Andy Kawano, as well as from the Honolulu Fire Department, Battalion Chief Pao Chi Wang. Good morning, Director Kawano.
Good morning, Budget Chair, Council Chair Waters, and Honorable Council Members Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. I have to apologize. We just recently determined that there are certain technical aspects of the bill that should be addressed. We're not sure as to what happens to the old fund when the new fund goes into place. So that's one issue. And the old fund is called the Fire Plans Review Revolving Fund. We recommend that the new fund, so there's a difference, just be called Fire Plans Review Fund. Generally speaking, most of the special funds are revolving anyway, you know, should they have cash left over. So we recommend that, and we also suggest that the new fund be effective at the start of FY28, so that the HFD finance team has time to come up with a budget that they can work on through the mayor's office and currently propose a budget for that year. So we respectfully ask for that consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kawano. Members, if we have any questions for the director. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And from the fire department, we have Battalion Chief Pao Chi Wang.
Good morning, Committee Chair Okimoto, Vice Chair Nishimoto, and committee members. I am Battalion Chief Pao Chi Wang with the Honolulu Fire Department. We do support Bill 8. We agree with the reporting requirements. It's for transparency. We concur with Director Kawano that maybe there are some details we are unaware of, and would ask respectfully to, but we agree with Andy Kawano to work out some of the details.
Okay, thank you, Battalion Chief. Members, do we have any questions for Battalion Chief Wang? Okay, seeing none. I'd like to thank you and the administration for working with Jamie and my team on making sure that we get this bill correct. With the feedback that was given, members, do we have any further discussion? Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Director Kawano, we're in second reading now for this bill. I was wondering, how come this was not caught when reviewing the different uses for each of the revolving funds when this bill came up?
I take full responsibility for not figuring it out right away. Still learning, realize that, you know, we're creating a new fund, but we have the old fund. When we transfer the fund balance to the new fund, we should also repeal that old fund as well.
Right.
And that's, just want to make sure we get it done right. And I want to ensure that HFD is able to use the funding that they get from the program because, you know, the budget's tight, as we've been talking about, very constrained for FY27.
Understood. And not meaning to hold up any of those funds when both are coexistent, but can it be done consecutively, meaning if this bill passes and then the repealing of the other fund occurs? I mean, just wondering. I was wondering if that's possible.
It is possible, but there's no budget for HFD to spend down the monies in the fund, you know, as a part of their fire education program, fire prevention program.
Okay.
For FY27, and that's why we're asking respectfully that we postpone the effective date until July 1st, 2027.
Okay, understood. But in the meantime, both can exist consecutively, right?
Yeah, both can exist, but we recommend that we change the name of the new one. So there's
All right, understood.
there's a difference.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Director Kawano, and thank you, Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Members, any further questions? Chair Waters.
Thank you. Just to be clear, are you suggesting that we defer the measure today for decision-making so that we can make?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, I'd like to work with Budget Chair and her team, Jamie and the team, to ensure that we have, the timing and the name of the fund, and, we have the ability to budget the use, because currently, under current law, the monies that come through the plans review, fire plan review fee fund that goes through that automatically appropriate. So if we change that, it may cause some problems. So we're thinking that we want to time everything so everything is effective on July 1st, 2027.
Thank you, Chair. I had a follow-up question. I want to thank Council Members Cordero and Chair Waters for asking their question. So if the fund is created and we don't, you're asking it to take effect in 2028, but if both funds existed and Councilmember Cordero asked that question and they are able to exist, what happens if we don't have it effective in 2028, but we have it upon approval? What would happen to the two funds then? If we created the fund while the old one is still
So I think we're going to bifurcate, right, the funding, because if the new fund is created, all of the plan review fees in 27 go into that fund. I think fire, anticipates having access to those monies as well to run their program. We constrain what they can do, so that's what we want to avoid. Because you're going to have some funds in the old fund and you're going to have 27 fees go into the new fund. It may create a situation that's, difficult to deal with from a budgeting and funding standpoint. So
Okay.
we recommend cleaning everything up a little more
Thank
before
you.
we go.
I appreciate the input, and I'm hoping that we can, because this is Bill 8 from 2026, so I'm hoping that we can get it to the finish line so that the fund is created properly and is able to be utilized properly. Now we're looking at it not being taken into effect at 2028. So hopefully in our discussion, we can finalize all of the kinks and then be able to have this bill go through.
Yeah, because
the fund to be
HFD supports the bill, I'm confident that in the next round, of Committee on Budget and the full council meeting that follows it, we can get the bill passed, with the right effective dates.
Okay,
And have it in place well ahead of the start of FY '28. Yeah.
okay. Thank you, Director. Councilmember Cordero.
Really quick, Chair Okimoto, Director Kawano, because there would be two funds, and yes, there would be revolving funds in the older fund before it would be repealed, would funds be able to be taken from both existing funds by HFD?
I would think that and subject to CORE's review, we have two funds, one with automatic appropriation and the other one that has to be budgeted. I would think that we only can spend money in the old fund, and it could shortchange what fire, plans to do in 27.
To me, that's odd because I feel like we would be able to use for different activities or for a singular activity for a certain department and pulling from different funds, revolving fund.
Yeah, the concern we have again is that in the newer fund, if monies go into that fund, it'll sit there until there's an approved budget that the money can be spent again, appropriation. So our concern is if we don't have everything timed right, we're going to constrain fire's operation, and we don't want to do that.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand. Well, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions for the Director or the department? Okay, thank you. And I do appreciate the departments working with my office and I. And this came about because of, we were trying to take input from the audit, and we want to make sure that we're being really responsible with the taxpayer dollars and managing the department's finances as well. But your input is really essential and important. So based on what you have shared with us today, the chair recommends that action on Bill 8, 2026 be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the chair to work on technical amendments with the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services as well as the Fire Department. Any further discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Director, and thank you, Battalion Chief Wang. Members, moving on to agenda item number 4, Resolution 26-83. This resolution approves the collective bargaining cost items for the Hawaii Firefighters Association Bargaining Unit 11, included and excluded managerial employees of the City and County of Honolulu. Members, we have distributed a hand-carried proposed CD1 OCS 2026-0236/4/24/2026 at 3:52 p.m. submitted by myself. The CD1 makes the following amendments. A, amends the be it resolved clause to state that the council approves the collective bargaining cost items for the Hawaii Firefighters Association Bargaining Unit 11 and to more accurately reflect the wording of the title of the resolution. And B, makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments. Before we bring up the administration, we will proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'd like to now welcome from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, once again, Director Andy Kawano, and from the Department of Human Resources, Director Nola Miyasaki. Would Director Miyasaki or Director Kawano? Aloha, Director Miyasaki.
Good morning, Chair, Budget Chair Okimoto, Chair Waters, members of the council. Nola Miyasaki, Director of the Human Resources. Thank you for this opportunity to present and ask for your approval of 4 years of salary costs for the Hawaii Firefighters Association, beginning July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2029 for the 4-year period, $53,219,672,000 plus employer union health care benefits in the amount of $3,231,182.
Thank you, Director. Members, do we have any questions for Director Miyasaki? None? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With Director Kawano, did you have anything to add? No? Okay. Oh,
Budget Chair, I have nothing to add.
thank you, Director Kawano. Members, do we have any questions for the departments? Okay. Seeing no further questions or discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-83 be amended to a hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2026-0236/4/24/2026 at 3:52 p.m. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution is amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 26-83 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Director Miyasaki and Director Kawano. Moving on to agenda item number 5, Resolution 26-85. This resolution authorizes a transfer of funds not to exceed a total of $3,419,093 in general fund monies from the provision of for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay activity, current expenses character of expenditure to the various executive agencies' activities, salary character of expenditure for fiscal year 2026 to fund the Honolulu Fire Department's Bargaining Unit 11 arbitration award increases. Before we bring up the administration, we will first proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome from the department, the Honolulu Fire Department, Battalion Chief Jason Torres. Aloha, good morning, Battalion Chief.
Good morning, Budget Chair Okimoto, Vice Chair Nishimoto, and council members. Battalion Chief Jason Torres, Honolulu Fire Department. This request is to cover regular pay and non-holiday overtime pay retro pay for uniform personnel from July 1st to June, July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026.
Thank you, members. Do we have any questions for Battalion Chief Torres? Thank you. Seeing no questions, members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-85 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Battalion Chief Torres.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 6, Bill 20-2026. This bill relates to rounding of cash payments. Before we bring up the administration, we'd like to again first proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We'd like to welcome from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, once again, Director Andy Kawano.
Budget Chair Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services, City Council Chair, and honorable council members, thank you for allowing us to present this bill, request for this bill's approval. You know, we have operations that collect cash in payment for city services, and we have had difficulties getting pennies for change from banks, and we believe that the rounding to the nearest nickel makes a lot of sense for operations and will allow us to continue to provide proper services to the public. So thank you for hearing this bill.
Thank you, Director Kawano. Councilmember Kia Aina.
Hi, thank you, Director. So, you know, when I was looking at what it does, it looked a little complicated, you know, and so the people receiving the cash, they're supposed to know what number it is that it ends on. And I'm just wondering why it can't be less complicated. Why can't you do whatever between 1 to 5, you round it 1 to 4 or something, you round it down, and then 5 to 9, you round it up. That seems more simple to me, but I don't know, am I missing something? I'm just trying to better understand, why does it seem so complicated?
Yeah, we could do that, what you're suggesting, but I think what we're doing actually does the rounding, you know, within the 5-cent range, either up or down, and I think that's why it's, yeah, a little more complicated, because it's two-part, right? You have to look at two different ranges
and I just
for
didn't-
each, for the move up or down.
I guess I'm worried about its complication, and so why are you going to put the burden on the person receiving it to figure out what number they got?
Well, what we could do is initially, until the public gets used to it, post a flyer at each checkout area. We could do something like that, and do outreach through the comms team.
You're right,
before we go live.
But you are telling me to trust the person who receives it, and depending on whether it's number 1 to 9, they know what to do with it. And by the way, it's not clear cut, yeah? It's not like what I said, 1 to 4, you round it down, 5 to 9, you round it up. That is not what this is proposing.
Yeah.
It's a complicated thing. So you are telling us to trust the person who's receiving it because they're going to look after our interests. How I know they're going to get them right?
I think when you, and nothing's wrong with the way you're suggesting to round it. It's simplified.
Yeah.
But we're going to have, I guarantee you, we're going to have people that say, why am I paying 5 cents more?
You're right.
And that's just
Okay.
from a perception standpoint, they're going to think that, you know, we're cheating them 5 cents a nickel.
Okay, got it. So this is based on science? You figured this out?
Based on what I learned in school, yeah, I think it's common math. I do believe we did a IA check from discussions with my staff, you know, on how different companies do rounding, and I believe it's common.
Okay, can you
But I
just explain to me what it does?
So So what it does then, so
Tell me the numbers.
you have an amount that's within 5 cents.
Okay?
Depending on where it is with regard to the 5 cents range, you're either going to go to zero, if it's
Yeah.
at zero, or up a nickel.
Oh, okay.
So if you're at 3 or 4 cents, with regard to the amount that has to be paid, you round up to 5 cents.
Okay.
If you're at 1 or 2, you round down to zero.
Okay.
You don't add that nickel. In
Okay,
other
and then
words,
explain the 6 to 9 or 5 to 9.
it's the same thing. So if, 6 to 7. If you have cents that ends, that second digit ends with a 6 or 7, you round down to the 5.
To 5?
Yeah, and then if it's 8 or 9, you round up
Oh,
to
okay.
the, yeah.
Okay, maybe. I know, I'm just saying that it depends on what the number is, that's all. Okay. Thank you for explaining to me, because when I'm looking at it on paper, I'm like, huh?
Thank you
Right?
for later, Kia Aina. No, it is a little, it's tricky.
Okay, thank.
Director, and since we're on the same subject, could you read, because in section C here, when we have, I think it's on page 2 of the bill, under payment cash transactions rounding, under section C, subheading 1, and then C underneath that. So you have your A and B examples, and then it says C, I think that's where it gets confusing, but notwithstanding paragraph A to the contrary, in any case which the total transaction amount, including any taxes, totals 1 cent or 2 cents, the transaction will be rounded up to 5 cents. So initially, like you said, if it was 1 or 2 pennies, then it goes down to 1. But can you explain again this last part where certain cases it'll be rounded up to 5 if it's 1 or 2 pennies?
Yeah, I believe a testifier raised the issue last time, and I think when we did the first reading of the bill in full council, so I did my own research, and my conclusion is that because C is for the situation where taxes are included, if it ever is included, the roundup results in the city not having to foot the bill for taxes, because if we round down, we'll be covering taxes for the customer or public receiving services. We have venues that don't collect GET, so it won't be a problem. They'll just follow A or B in that case.
Okay, so just to repeat, C would be the totals include taxes, whereas A and B
Yes.
would be
No
areas.
tax.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Members, do we have any further questions? Chair Waters?
Thank you. Just to follow up, why can't we round down?
Because if you include any kind of tax or fee in the amount that the customer pays, if we round down, so if it's the second digit in the cents column is 1 or 2, and we round, the city is in effect covering the fee or tax.
But why is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing? I mean, we're talking pennies, literally, pennies.
It's just the way we operate.
But
We typically don't cover taxes for any customer, and it's just how we operate, in terms of our how we transact cash.
It's been the customary, but what's to say that we can't just round down in ordinance?
Subject to CORE's review, I can't say that you can't round down, but I can tell you right now, our approach is we never cover taxes or fees for customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because personally, I think we should round down by the dollar. Right? Never mind the penny, let's round down by the dollar. I mean, we're not talking big bucks here.
Are you going to round up by the dollar too, to
No,
the
just
nearest
round
dollar?
down every time. So if it's $1,055.55, it'd be $1,055.
I wouldn't recommend that. I think it's too much of a round down, to be honest. But that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, okay. So this is a result of us not having enough pennies, is that right?
Yes, there is a shortage of penny rolls at banks, and it's difficult, and it makes it difficult for our staff because they have to go to sometimes more than one bank to get change so they can make change for customers. It's not efficient.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what is Budget and Fiscal Services doing when you don't have enough pennies?
Fortunately, we've been able to get through because this ordinance and the change would only affect when we receive cash. More and more people are, paying by card, or, we're going to look at ACH payment and things like that. So hopefully at some point, we're nearly cashless or become cashless. But we're not there yet.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Director, about what percentage of the transactions are currently cash transactions?
I would have to get that to you later. I don't know.
The majority is going to be electronic, or?
I can tell you for
check?
property taxes, the cash transaction amount is relatively small,
Okay,
but people still do.
Still do.
And they're, from time to time, safety concerns because our customer service staff can receive thousands of dollars in cash to pay property taxes on any given day.
okay.
In August and February, and they're not comfortable from time to time, and hopefully we get to a cashless economy at some point in time.
At some point, should this continue and pass, we would have a number to see. I'm interested to see what we actually would generate or lose based on us passing this this bill. If we're rounding up or rounding down,
May I? Okay, so you want to know the proportion of cash transactions we have?
separate, that's a separate ask, but
Okay.
should this pass, I am curious to know with the transactions that we have, and that would be interesting to know based on, but how much are we actually, because I think Chair Waters and maybe Councilmember Kiaina are saying, we're worried that it's going to essentially disadvantage the people who are paying cash. I was curious to know, would you guys be able to tell us at some point in the future how much we're actually generating?
If you passed a bill,
Yeah,
we may be able to, and we're going to have to find out if our systems can do it, but track every round up and down.
right.
Keep in mind it's going to net. I really
Right.
believe that the net
You think it's
amount
gonna
will
be net?
be immaterial.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Members, any further questions? Nope. Okay, seeing no further questions, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, thank you, Director Kawano. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 2026 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Agenda item number 7, Resolution 26-86. This resolution approves a one-time compromise of the real property taxes, accrued penalties, and interest owed by 630 Cook Street Partnership LP for the tax year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026 for the affordable rental housing portion of Nohona Hale, such that the total taxes, interest, and penalties owing in the amount of $324,079.74 are compromised to the amount of $6,579.22 that is fully allocated to the commercial portion of Nohona Hale. Before we bring up the administration, we will proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome back from the administration, from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services, Director Andy Kawano.
Andy Kawano, Director of Budget and Fiscal Services. Thank you for hearing this resolution, Budget Chair and honorable council members. This is another situation where a project taxpayer, for whatever reason, did not, on a timely basis, submit a continuing exemption filing timely. We understand that the managing agent or manager for the project had personnel changes and addresses got mixed up. And for whatever reason, the assessment notice and other communications may not have gotten to the right place. The owner of this project is on the mainland, on the East Coast. The housing agent is, or project agent is local. We're just concerned that if we don't provide the compromise of a fairly large amount, in excess of $300,000, it could impact the project longer term. And heaven forbid, we don't want the owner to convert to market or convert some of the units to market. Based on our understanding, all of the units except for one for the project manager is at 60% AMI or lower. So this project provides a very needed service for people that are struggling for their housing. So we feel that it's the right thing to do, and we're asking for a compromise of the housing component of the project. But we suggest that, strongly recommend that we collect the commercial component of the project, which is at the podium. At street level, they have some commercial units that should result in paid property taxes on an allocated basis.
Thank you, Director Kawano. Members, any questions for the director? Chair Waters.
Thank you, Director. I understand what you're saying, and this project is providing affordable housing at 60% AMI and below, and they happened to make a mistake and they didn't file the proper paperwork. Makes total sense. But my question is, on an individual basis, and we get it every year, not so much this year, I've noticed, but say widows or widowers who failed to file a homeowner's exemption and they're now residential A, why can't we provide the same type of relief on an individual basis?
Because we run the whole gambit, as we've discussed. You have people, the whole spectrum. You have the average person like us. You have the very rich that sometimes get into that situation, and then you have those that are not, that are not as fortunate, and struggle to get by living day to day. On that end, we have other circuit breakers, if you will. There are other ways that they can get relief. I think for the rest of us, at some point in time, you have to be personally responsible to ensure that you file the claim or you submit the information so that you're a named title holder, in the Real Property Assessment Division system. As I've explained to you, Chair, even myself, I didn't know when I bought our home. I mean, we've only owned one home, and I didn't. My wife wasn't on. We're joint owners, so I got her on after learning, being a part of BFS and learning from the team. So just recently, I added my wife online to the system, and I can tell you right now that our team continues to do outreach and education every year. So I think those cases, while they're still going to happen, probably are going to continue to be reduced over time. Where people are unaware of the fact that if you own property jointly, you have to go online and register all the title holders, so that the property will pass from one that is deceased during the year to the surviving entity. So there's just too many. I mean, we have how many? We have 280,000 residential units in residential and residential A. It's huge, just too many of them.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Director Kawano, I know that Nahona Hale is a project that did go through the city council process maybe, 8 10 years ago, and then it's operating as an affordable housing project now. After it's operational, do we just require the property manager to just follow up? There's no stake in the city after approving it to also work with those property managers?
It is so when, under this chapter, you have to enter into a regulatory agreement as a project. And it's very clear that, you are responsible
Understood.
to keep the project or the number of units in the project affordable. And our ordinance says that it's the responsibility of the taxpayer to inform real property assessment of any changes in status, address, name, any changes in title holders, and things like that. They're supposed to, let RPAD, the Real Property Assessment Division, know right away of any changes. And it's the taxpayer's responsibility. We don't have enough staff to follow up with every taxpayer. No.
Okay, thank you. And I think it goes back to the type of marketing. You said you're going to look at bettering either marketing and education. And I think that we also have the same goal. And when we want to add things to the budget to help support BFS doing so, I think these are the types of situations that we're also looking at too, in addition to widowers as well. So thank you, Chair Okimoto, and thank you, Director Kawano.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions for the director? Seeing no further questions, members, we are in discussion. I would just like to discuss a little bit more. I thank you for answering the questions. I know that since I've been in the council, this has been something very important to Chair Waters. I remember hearing this from the beginning because he had examples of people in his district, and I appreciate him, informing us, but also standing up for our everyday residents. And I do appreciate, I understand that you're saying I guess it's too much of a feat with comparing the numbers of 280,000 residential units versus corporations. But to me, I struggle when we're going to approve our corporation, having some kind of mistake, and yet we tell our residents who may be more vulnerable, especially our kupuna, who maybe aren't the ones that are very well versed with online transactions, that it's okay, we're going to pass this, we're going to make exceptions for corporations, but not for you. And so I'm hoping that, like my colleagues have said, there's something that we can do. I know that you have made efforts by saying you're going to do marketing and education, but I do pause a little bit when I feel like we're making exceptions for big corporations and not for the people in our districts who, like Chair Waters, since I've been here, he's been advocating for this, and I know you guys have had many conversations, and I appreciate the discussion, but I feel like there's probably more that we need to do to help the widows and the widowers, the kupuna, who are the ones that are probably not going to be able to keep up with all that we're doing, especially with technology. So do you have any other thoughts on that, Director?
Yeah, I think probably the best thing to do, and I've stated this before, is we should form a permitted interaction group and have discussion with experts, include experts, in property taxes, on improving the system. We don't have the capacity right now to actually do outreach to all taxpayers. We just can't do it. Our folks that visit properties are appraisers, and their primary objective is to ensure that valuations are accurate. So the information being put in to our mass appraisal system is accurate as possible. We are talking about making some small increases to our investigative team. So we have, instead of one or two, a handful of folks that can go out and check on exemptions, dedications, and things like that to ensure that people are in compliance. But to do actual outreach to confirm that people are reporting their situation properly would be too difficult. We have to continue to use technology and do the outreach and continue communication of what taxpayers should be communicating to real property assessment.
Okay, thank you. And I hear what you're saying, and I understand. But, we have other departments who have their marketing and advertising efforts. I know that you've been advocating for the PIG. For us, we turn to you as the expert on this. I don't know if we need another type of expert. We just want to be able to reach our constituents and make the exceptions. Like I said, we're making exceptions for corporations, so why can't we do that? For the extreme cases where there was I'm not saying everybody take advantage of this, but, or take it to an advantage where it's not safe for our fiscal resources, but I'm hoping that there's a better way. And if other departments have advertising budgets, then to get information on education purposes, I would think that your department could also. Members, any further discussion? Chair Waters?
Yeah, just real quick. I thought about putting a note in your property tax assessment, right at the bottom of the bill with a star, and just say, just define what residential A is. Would be helpful. Even you have another opportunity in your property tax bill. I remember years ago when I worked for the state, and I'm talking years ago, you get your paycheck, and I'd get a note from Governor Cayetano, and it'd be talking about all kinds of different stuff, but it was a note on your paycheck. So why not on the property tax bill or your property tax assessment, a little education piece on there, 1 or 2 sentences defining what residential A is. And or if you don't have a homeowner's exemption, your house is over a certain amount, you may be taxed at a higher rate. Something like that. To me, that's not that hard. Or is it that hard?
I think it's becoming easier, working, and I'm going to allow our administrator to speak because he knows the detail better than me. But we're continuing to improve the technology at the website. You can upload information now. We have a portal. There's going to be more use of QR codes. So maybe all that's needed is a QR code on the bill that'll take the taxpayer to our website to get information on what you're talking about. But I'll let our administrator talk about what we're doing now. Thank you. Steve Takaro.
Hi, good morning, Budget Chair, Council Chair, and other council members. Stephen Takaro, Real Property Administrator. If I can circle back on a couple of topics that was discussed earlier, I guess if we can go back to the compromise and the question about corporations versus individuals and the compromise itself, right? So this is basically based off of historical resolutions or policies where if they untimely or missed a deadline, but they would have qualified, that they get the full compromise. We can talk offline, but should it be a full compromise? Should it be a percentage, or should there be a meeting of the minds where it's somewhere in between? We can talk about all of those things. If I can chime in about individuals versus corporations or businesses or management companies, we kind of felt like, as Director Kawano touched upon, is that currently, I think the policy is for the community benefit when it comes to compromises versus individuals, that the community as a whole or tenants of such affordable housing or low-income housing would be adversely affected versus individual family or a handful of family members or, a family. I think we spoke offline years ago, Chair, about maybe addressing widows and widowers in such unfortunate situations. So we can continue that conversation as far as if we can find a solution for those type of situations. But it has to be clearly defined, because once we kind of open that Pandora's box about compromising individuals, it can get out of control, as Director kind of alluded to. So if we have defined parameters where it's clear, where it's not so much ambiguity or subjectivity, I think we can come up with a, proposal. And we've talked offline years ago about it. The other thing I wanted to speak about is our residential aid threshold increasing from $1 million to 1.3. I think I've got calls from other council members as far as possible tax rates and what that means when it comes to the threshold and the tax rates, because is the threshold now at 1.3 where that's the breaking point, right? Right now, the breaking point is at a mill, right? So if we go to 1.3, are we encountering just moving the problem to 1.3? Some research that I did that rates would influence that, and we can talk offline. I don't know if I can talk about experts, but maybe directors talking about our office as being subject matter experts, Chair. So we can kind of exchange all these deep dive things. So catching up to the latest thing as far as letting them know, how do we let them know, right? So I think the previous council member years ago kind of said, when there's a classification change from Res to Res A, we colorize it. So we have that coloring. Any type of class change, our printers put it in red to call us. Because if we put too much information, it gets clouded. We got so much information, so much programs that people don't understand where they fit in, or they don't identify themselves with the situation they're in oftentimes. So we just have it colorized in red to call our office. That's kind of our current solution, because if we just tatter everything with information, it just gets like, what is that? Sensory overload at that point. Then at that point, we may lose readers at that point. So we kind of chose the coloring. I don't know if your constituents encountered that, but the main thing is for them to call our office. And again, we can talk about other solutions and other ideas. If I can, sorry if I'm talking so long, but as far as the home exemption education, we do pursue it with the comms team, social media. We do public outreaches and stuff like that with Honolulu Border Realtors, any other type of events. But personally, like if I go out and hang out and people ask, hey, where you work? I'm like, oh, yeah. I tell them about home exemptions. I end the line up in the water. I tell people surfing, hey, you get your home exemption. So don't worry, I try my effort to promote home exemptions.
Just a thought. I agree when it is in red. So the idea is to call the tax office, but maybe just a little blurb on the bottom explaining why it's red, right? You're now a residential A, which means, I need to define what residential A is. Just a thought, but appreciate you. And it's getting way better, way better. So, I've been at this for a number of years, as you mentioned, and, we're getting less and less people who are caught without that homeowner's exemption. So just a thought, but thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember Kia Aina.
I was going to wait to ask you this question during the appeals process, but it might be relevant for this discussion. This relates to the HCDA program at Ulana at Ward Village. And there's been two issues that have been brought to my attention, not just from people that we know, but also from my constituents in Kaneohe who have children who brought into that building. The two issues are, first, that many of them miss the homeowner's exemption deadline, and many bought their homes at about $600,000, say $15,000, and the tax value was 1.2 million. So first, I'm just wondering if these individuals who are now taxed at as residential A when they live in the unit, if we might consider a compromise for all affected. And then second, of course, is that depending on the unit, they are restricted from selling their property at fair market value, yet they are taxed at fair market value. And I'm wondering what we should do on that. So first, the homeowner's exemption issue, and then the second one. Can you respond to that? I figured I'd ask you now since I was going to ask it later.
I'm more than happy to talk about it, and I don't know if we can.
Well, I'm asking specifically about a compromise, perhaps. This is related to a compromise, so let me bring up the other issue later. How about I talk about a compromise? This is a compromise agenda item.
again, this goes back to what we briefly mentioned earlier, that these are individuals where there is an appeal process for this situation. So the many units, and I'll just come out and say it, the Ulana project in Ward Village, the Howard Hughes project, I think, I'll just say, I think you're talking about that.
Yes.
So we're working with the appraisers and the appellants, because the number of appeals in that project is high volume. It represents a large percentage of the appeals this year.
Okay.
So we're going through the process, right? So it's unusual where you have affordable or, what they call
Yeah.
working wage or, owners that are in the $1 million range, and they purchase it for basically half of that, right? So it's very unusual, unique situation, but we have the appeal process to go through, and I don't recommend a compromise for such project.
Okay, well, we'll be monitoring that.
Sure.
Because maybe your appeals process is insufficient because of the uniqueness and the number of people impacted, that's all. So, thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Thank you, Florida Kia Aina.
sorry, sorry,
go
Budget,
ahead.
real quick.
Thank you, Mr. Takara.
The idea was circled around not valuing such properties at fair market value.
That's correct.
Right? It gets complicated, and we can touch upon inequities at that point. How do we value affordable? How do we value leasehold, right? That all these other properties that may not feel they should be paying for market value. So it gets super complicated. Who's in, who's out? How do we do it? How do we fairly, assess or right?
And that is
such properties.
that is a policy issue we could have offline. But
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember Kia Aina. Members, any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Takara. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-86 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda item number 8, Resolution 26-88. This resolution authorizes a transfer of funds not to exceed $150,000 in general fund monies from the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay activity, current expenses character of expenditure, to the Department of Emergency Management Coordination Activity, salaries character of expenditure, for the fiscal year 2026, required to support personnel costs associated with DEM's ongoing disaster response and recovery operations. Before we bring up the administration, we will proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Joining us from the Department of Emergency Management, we have Director Dr. Randall Collins. Aloha, good morning, Director Collins.
Aloha, good morning, Council. Pleasure to be with you. This is just a bookkeeping matter, and focused on transferring these funds from the stated account to DEM so that we can continue paying our employees. We incurred quite a lot of overtime due to the storms in February and March and April. So that's kind of what this is all about.
Thank you, Director Collins. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Director Collins, how many personnel will this $150,000 cover? It's not clear in the resolution.
This is going to be covering the full-time funded staff that we have, so that's 15 paid positions, but we're 2 positions light, so it'll be 12.
Okay, and so it's 150,000 divided by 13 people?
Well, it's going to be covering their overtime, so it depends on when they worked and so forth.
Okay, understood. And how were you able to calculate that? We're still in April, right? So how were you able to calculate it for this quick?
I'll have to get back to my ASO on that. I'm not sure how she came up with the number, but I know that she looked at it pretty closely.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Any further questions for the director? Seeing none, members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-88 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, discussion. Director Collins, it was for past overtime, or is it for overtime moving forward until the end of the fiscal year?
My understanding, this is covering the overage from past overtime, but I'll get clarification on that for you if you need.
Okay, that would be good to see the breakdown. Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Very, very pertinent questions and discussion. Any further discussion or questions, members? Okay. Seeing none, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-88 be reported out for adoption. Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, moving on to agenda item number 9, Resolution 26-94. This resolution authorizes a transfer of funds not to exceed $1,200,000 in general fund monies from the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay activity, current expenses character of expenditure, to the Department of Emergency Services, Emergency Medical Services activity, salaries, character of expenditure for the fiscal year 2026 to cover the projected shortfall caused by unbudgeted incentive pay per the alternate work schedule agreement, as well as overtime overages caused by emergencies such as the Kona low storms. Members, we have distributed a hand-carried proposed CD1 OCS 2026-0249/4/24/2026 at 12:44 p.m. submitted by myself. The CD1 makes the following amendments. A, in the fourth whereas clause, clarifies that the transfer from the provision for salary adjustments and accrued vacation pay activity will be from the current expenses CE, character of expenditure, COE, for the fiscal year 2026 to the Department of Emergency Services, ESD, Emergency Medical Services Activity Salaries, S, COE. B, in the be it resolved clause, clarifies the recipient department is the ESD. And C, makes miscellaneous, technical, and non-substantive amendments. Before we bring up the administration, we will proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Seeing no testifiers, we'd like to welcome from the Department of Emergency Services, Deputy Director Ian Santee.
Hi, good morning, Budget Chair Okimoto, Council Chair Waters, and council members. Again, Ian Santee, Deputy Director, Honolulu Emergency Services Department. This funding is to just, as we projected, we are short up to $1.2 million, and that's due to some overtime that was incurred, as well as also to our supplemental collective bargaining agreement that we passed with our the UPW. So this is to support that funding, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Deputy Director. Members, any questions for Deputy Director Santee? Deputy Director, similar to what Councilmember Cordero asked DEM, in this case, what is the number of employees? And this is just for the past, not, or is this for past and what you expect?
It's projected up to cover all the way through. So I guess the best way to look at it is this affects approximately 250 uniform personnel. 250 to 275 uniform personnel. And it's for some of the overtime that we did incur through the storm, but also through, we have a supplemental agreement with the union that affects their longevity with the department. So that is to cover us through June 30th. It is in our budget for next year. If that question was going to come up, and it is also to, so what we do is we have money today, but we anticipate that we may have a projected shortfall of that much. So we may not be using the whole 1.2, but we're up to that amount.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Director. Members, any further questions for the department? Seeing no further questions, we are in discussion. Thank you, Deputy Director. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 26-94 be amended to a hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2026-02494/4/24/2026 at 12:44 p.m. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Seeing none, this resolution is amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 26-94 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Agenda item number 10, Resolution 26-93. This resolution authorizes a transfer of funds not to exceed $1,300,000 in general fund monies from the Department of Parks and Recreation Services Activity, Current Expenses, Character of Expenditure to the Department of Parks and Recreation, Grounds Maintenance Activity, Current Expenses, Character of Expenditure for fiscal year 2026, required to meet a budget shortfall in water costs. Members, we have distributed a hand-carried proposed CD1 OCS 2026-0250/4/27/2026 at 7:45 a.m. submitted by myself. The CD1 makes the following amendments. A, in the Be It Resolved clause, amends the table by adding references to the Department of Parks and Recreation in the From column and the To column, and B, makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments. Before we bring up the administration, we'd like to proceed with first in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding now with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, seeing no testifiers, we'd like to welcome from the Department of Parks and Recreation, Deputy Director Kehaulani Pu'u. Aloha, good morning, Deputy Director.
Hi, aloha, good morning. Budget Chair Okimoto, Chair Waters, and honorable members of the council. Kehau Pu'u from Deputy Director of the Department of Parks and Recreation. So this resolution, this request for a transfer of funds is for our largest division, our division of Park Maintenance and Recreation Services. We are requesting a transfer of $1.3 million in anticipated savings for electricity from our recreation services, current expenses to grounds maintenance to help cover our anticipated shortfall for our water bill. As you know, we have over 200 parks, fields, comfort stations, campgrounds, pools, gyms, recreation centers, all that require and have high water utilization. Mahalo. Any questions?
Thank you, Deputy Director Pu'u. Members, do we have any questions for the Director? Seeing no further questions, members, we are in discussion. Okay. Seeing no discussion, the Chair recommends that Resolution 26-93 be amended to a hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2026-0250/4/27/2026 at 7:45 a.m. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Seeing none, the resolution is amended to a CD1. The Chair then recommends that Resolution 26-93 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any further discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, Deputy Director. Moving on to agenda item number 11, Council Communication 90-2026 transmits a draft committee report on the review and evaluation of the Salary Commission pursuant to Chapter 3, Article 15 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021. We have a related communication CC-1226 dated January 30, 2026, which does not cover the Commission's latest recommendations. Before we bring up the administration, we'll proceed with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Yes, Chair, we have one standing by.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jason Liang.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto and Vice Chair Nishimoto and honorable council members. I'm here today in my personal capacity as a private citizen to oppose the findings of the Salary Commission. As it stands, the Salary Commission lacks public input and transparency. Their methodology is known only to them and they provide no substantive evidence to justify the salary increase. The rationale is made with the increase that the increase aligns to the city workforce adjustment and inflationary pressure. The Salary Commission cites an inflationary increase of 2.6%, and a comparable city salary schedule has a 4% increase this year. Where does the Salary Commission derive the additional 0.7%? Just as we are made to show our work in school, the Salary Commission must be made to do the same. Itemize and justify down to the 0.1% of any salary increase. I respectfully request that the council members here today vote down the salary increase and the other council members do the same, as this increase has not earned the approval of the public, nor does it stand up to any scrutiny. Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, could you just state your name, your first and last name, please?
Yes, Jason Liang.
Thank you. Members, do we have any questions for the testifier? Chair Waters.
Hello, Jason. Thank you for being here today. Each council member needs to decide individually on whether or not we should accept the 4.7% salary increase, and I want to go on record to say that I'm not accepting it. The same recommendation is made for the administration. I believe the increase would be about $9,000 for the department heads, the deputy directors. Are you suggesting that we not allow that increase for the administration?
I'm suggesting that the Salary Commission justify their increases and show their work. They have not itemized any of their increases, nor have they justified it. Their numbers don't make any sense, and it's not based on any material evidence.
Okay. You don't want to opine on whether or not the administration should get a raise?
I believe that salaries should be adjusted to reflect the work that people do, as well as the economy, the state of the economy. And so far, the Salary Commission has not done that job.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair Waters. Councilmember
I'm just trying to clarify. Is the agenda item for the committee report for years 21 to 25? I just want to know what the agendized item is about.
Yes, so the measure that we're discussing right now is from 2021 through 2025.
Okay. So the issue of the 2026, that is not on the agenda
Correct.
today.
That's not what we're
Okay, I'm
discussing.
just trying to clarify. Thank you so much.
Flavia
I do have
Kiaina.
comments on that, but I won't do it at this time. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Councilmember, any further questions for the testifier? No? Okay, thank you. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we'll now proceed with any further questions, any discussion. Councilmember Kiaina.
While we are not discussing the 2026 proposal, I do want to say that while I do appreciate the Salary Commission in trying to remedy historical disparities with regard to pay, I do believe moving forward it is unsustainable for both council members as well as the administration to be expecting an increase every year in a 4.7% range, and would recommend two things: that they take that into account because it's unsustainable. So number one, they could determine when to have an increase, and should there ever be an increase, I believe that even if the charter provides to align with the collective bargaining increase, I believe that it should be 3% or less. I just wanted to make that comment, and that I would say that with regard to what has happened even the last couple of years, since we're only commenting on those years.
Thank you, Councilmember Kiaina. Members, any further discussion? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that the committee report be reported out for a scheduling of a public hearing and adoption. Any further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, moving on to agenda item number 12, Council Communication 91, 2026 transmits a draft committee report on the review and evaluation of the Real Property Tax Boards of Review 1, 2, and 3 pursuant to Chapter 3, Article 15 of the revised ordinances of Honolulu 2021. Members, for your information, I plan to amend the committee report and attach a draft bill OCS 2026-0256/4/27/2026 at 2:31 p.m., implementing the committee's recommendations. Before we bring up the administration, we'll proceed first with in-person oral testimony in the council chamber. Clerks, do we have any in-person testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Proceeding on with remote testimony, clerks, do we have any remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome from the Real Property Assessment Administration, or from the Real Property Tax Boards of Review, Real Property Assessment Administrator Steve Takara. Thank you, Administrator Takara.
Hi, Budget Chair, Council Chair, and other council members. Stephen Takar, Real Property Assessment Administrator. Any questions, or I don't know what you want me to talk about? or
This is regarding the committee report on review.
Yeah.
Okay, for the boards.
I mean, get so much to talk about. I don't know where you'd like me start, or
Okay.
or rebut about the two items, or the two items about education and online, or.
Oh, no, this is Council Communications 91, 2026.
Sorry, I've been here for a while, but I don't know. I don't know what to do.
This is for the Real Property Tax Boards of Reviews 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, the questions. Oh, okay.
No.
1, 2, and 3.
No. So, sorry, Administrator Takara. I believe every so many years we have to, let me go to the right. So this is a draft of the committee report review from the Real Property Tax Boards of Review.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Maybe, members, do you have any questions for the administrator? Thank you,
Yes.
Councilmember Kiaina.
I do have a question. So tell me about any backlog that is occurring with the Zoning Board of Appeals. First of all, is there a backlog, and how are we dealing with it? I understand before there was a backlog relating to short-term rental appeals. Do you know anything about what's going on with the Zoning Board of Appeals?
I think in general, we try to complete each year's worth of appeals. I think we're at a high success rate to close each year. I don't know specific classes or types of appeals as far as TVUs, but I can take a look at that.
Okay, but you know what? I think a member from the Board of Appeals should have been here.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I don't know, maybe we don't pass it out today. Because I think there has been concern because there's a backlog, and I just want to be able to ask because he's in no position to be knowing what's going on in the Board of Appeals. Is there a time constraint?
There is a time constraint.
Okay, well, they clearly didn't care much about it for none of them to come today.
Sorry if I can chime in on that. There are private citizens that have.
I understand.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to address the question or the concern as far as backlog.
Yeah.
I think we've caught up with a majority of the cases. Cases where we're not able to schedule is, I'm not blaming the appellants, but they're choosing to hold off on it because they have other subsequent appeals. So they have a laundry list of appeals, or whatever reason they're on the mainland or out of state or out of country. And then we try to schedule them, but for whatever, they push off. So we try to do our darndest to schedule it.
Okay, but so let me just tell you that I appreciate that people are volunteers, but these don't come up all the time. So they could have been on Zoom. It only takes 5-10 minutes. So I'm just saying it's good to hear from the people who are on the Zoning Board of Appeals and just ask questions. But I take my recommendation back. If you have to pass it, pass it. It just would be nice. They play a critical role.
No, I agree. And I think it would be helpful for all of the boards and commissions to come before us, but we do understand that they're voluntary positions. Florida, because there is a timeline, we do have the deadline of May 31st. Looking at the calendar, it would have to go through committee and then to the full council. But maybe what we can do is really encourage them to be present for the full council meeting when this would, after the committee would go to the full council. If that's okay with you.
Well, full council, you don't want to do these kind of things
I
because there's so
understand.
many items. I just wanted to note that. I appreciate all the work that they've done, but again, we rarely do this. We just had a planning commission report recently, and the chair, of course, showed up at the committee hearing just so that we can find out what's going on with the commission. Thank you.
I understand. Councilmember Kiaina. Sorry, Councilmember Cordero.
It's all good. Thank you, Chair Okimoto. Administrator Takara, since your report that you submitted in January, has there been a change in the vacant positions? Currently in the report for January 30, it says that there are 3 vacant positions and 3 members serving in expired terms. What are the updated makeup of the board now as of April 28?
Yes, so we have a new board member. She went through the vetting process. I forget what the resolution number, but we do have a new board member since the writing of this document, and she's been active as a board member, helping adjudicate.
Did she take a vacant position or a member's position that was acting in an expired term
Expired.
position?
So there's
Okay,
still.
so there's
still, I think-
two. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so there's still 3 vacant positions and now 2 members acting in expired position terms.
I
Term
believe-
positions.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you for that update. Thank you, Chair Okimoto.
Thank you, Councilmember Cordero. Members, any further questions for the administrator? No? Did you have anything else to add?
Yeah,
Mr. Takara?
Sorry for my confusion, and if I can kind of express where my bearings are at this particular time.
Sure, please
So-
proceed.
So, right, we had the report, I guess, prepared by the board members and their recommendations, and then as budget chair, you're making recommendations and crafting a bill to satisfy their wishes or their recommendations. Is that what's happening?
Correct.
Okay, so I believe 2 of the issues or matters are online hearings and education of board members. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now maybe I can start the conversation. So we're open to amendment changes, but I just wanted to express that I think we're okay as is, meaning that we can elaborate on board rules. We just established board rules earlier, I think last year, to kind of encompass the online remote hearings for people out of state, out of country. So that helped reach out to appellants, as well as our education of board members, that we understand that board members need to be educated, that there's guidelines and rules that they need to follow, and the ordinance, like, adjudicate cases with the information provided by real property as well as the appellant, and not do their own homework, not to do, you know what I mean, that stuff like that, or when to recuse themselves if there's a conflict of interest and stuff. That to me is just general education of the board member. I think CORE has a lot to do with it because we have our corporation counsel that represents us, and the board members have their corporation that represents them. So that person or that deputy corporation counsel should, and they have been fulfilling that role. But I think maybe the need is a greater education from that corporation counsel and deputy. I think that's what the concern is. So.
Thank you, Administrator Takara. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Chair Okimoto. First off, Administrator Takara, we're just talking about the draft committee report. I anticipate there are possible legislation coming from such review and evaluation from the report, but I do think it is a little, since it's not on the agenda, I don't think we should be bringing those non-agendized items up because it's not introduced and it's not on the agenda. So I just wanted to note that because I have no idea what you're talking about, although it is an issue that we've been talking about. Thank you.
Okay.
Members, again, just to clarify, copies of the bill have been distributed to each of you. So if you have any questions. Yeah, okay. See, any other questions for Administrator Takara or for Director Kawano? Seeing no further questions, members, we are in discussion. Seeing no further discussion, the chair recommends that the committee report be amended by attaching the draft bill for an ordinance numbered OCS 2026-0256/4/27/2026 at 2:31 p.m. Any discussion, any objections?
I just want to say
thank
I
you.
stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Kiaina.
So you have an attached bill, but it hasn't been introduced. It's just a proposed bill that is attached to the committee report.
Yes.
We are not voting.
We're not voting on the bill.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Correct. Yes. Before discussion, okay. Any reservations? Seeing none, the committee report has been amended. The chair then recommends that the committee report as amended be reported out for the scheduling of a public hearing and adoption. Any discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much, Administrator Takaro and Director Kawano. Members, we have come to the end of our agenda. Mahalo everyone for attending and for participating in today's meeting. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.